Scott says action.
Action.
Well, welcome. We are here at, I was going to say School Swarm. No, we're not. We're at Bus Bonanza.
We're at Bus Bonanza.
We have changed our location today for the internet talk because it's a rainy day and half of the kitchen is being occupied by folks playing games. So we've got Scott's phone recording it. We're live on TikTok. And we've got a few folks in the audience who want to learn about how to stay connected on the go. So that's what we're going to be talking about today is the internet options. So by now you guys probably know who I am. My name's Ryan. I'm from Seeking Discovery and I've been on the road for 2.5 years now.
And I'm Josh. I'm with the Wander Lounge Bus. I've been on the road for 7.5 years now.
And we've got...
And I'm Darren. I've been on the road for 2 years, off and on.
So these are two of the more techie people that I know on the road, so I figured they would be great additions. Are you shaking your head no? Would be a great addition to our chat today. So we've got a couple of examples of hardware we're going to talk about, the various services we've tried and liked or not liked, and then what we're all currently using to stay connected on the go. First and foremost, my recommendation, if you need internet for your job and you're traveling, I recommend 3 sources of internet. So usually that's your cell phone and whoever your carrier is there, a cellular router by a different carrier, and then the most popular one right now is Starlink, so you'd have satellite internet as well. So basically, regardless of where you go, one of those 3 should get you connected. If your job is hypercritical that you do need to be connected 100% of the time. So, with that being said...
Why the difference in carriers between your cell phone and the router?
Sometimes you have Verizon, but you don't have T-Mobile. Sometimes it's the other way around.
The coverage
Oh, the
maps.
access, the coverage. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so when you look at the coverage maps between the 3 major providers, if you slap them all together, there's pretty much coverage everywhere. But the holes in one carrier's map can be filled by another carrier. So, yeah. That's my logic. Do we have any questions on TikTok so far?
Let's see. How many fish can you name?
No.
We have a lot of background noise.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, Smuggler. We have a table of game players.
We've got
also.
hooligans in the house.
And future me likes one of our sweatshirts. I don't know whose.
Do you like the Explore Every Day, the Overland Expo, or the Aldi?
The Aldi.
I think they like the Explore Every Day.
I think they like the Aldi.
You can get it on Amazon. Search search Seeking Discovery as a brand, and you'll find all of my merch available.
You can get it at Aldi, but only last fall. So another thing I would throw out for potential internet sources is Wi-Fi tethering off of someone else's Wi-Fi. Like most restaurants these days, fast food restaurants will have Wi-Fi in their stores. Starbucks, places like that, where the signal is strong enough that you can receive it from their parking lot. Walmarts are also like that, although they're making it a little bit more difficult to get connected. They want you to log in now. Some other stores, kind of a similar deal where you can actually get Wi-Fi in a parking lot where maybe you wouldn't get signal otherwise, like in the middle of Wyoming.
Well, and I'm pretty sure Walmart's changing their policy that you have to be a Walmart Plus subscriber to access their Wi-Fi.
So the last move they did, they require a login. It does not require Walmart Plus, but they do expect you to log in. And when you register an account, they do not validate it, so you can put in whatever you want, and it'll store a cookie on your phone. And next time you go to Walmart and ask for it, you just hit go. That's been my experience so far. I do spend a fair amount of time inside Walmart, unfortunately.
Let's see. Somebody says you're hotter than a spoon at Hunter Biden's house.
Okay. Yep.
Smugglers headed home to pack, and Jess and Jake say the shop Wi-Fi is the only thing working for us. Well, if you're in the shop working, you should be on the shop Wi-Fi because it's a big metal building, and Wi-Fi does not like big metal structures.
Yep. Well, cell phone service also does not like big metal structures.
Yeah. And speaking of big metal structures, we live in metal vehicles. So we were chatting earlier. One of the most popular new solutions out there is the T-Mobile Home Internet on the go, which Darren will grab. you can unplug the white cord.
Yeah. Now officially, T-Mobile Home Internet doesn't work in a moving thing. It only works at the address.
Not true. They were at the National RV Show pushing it to travelers.
Were they? 'Cause I looked, I swear, just a couple weeks ago, and it said stationary use.
Oh,
I walked into a T-Mobile store to get a little hotspot,
Yeah.
and they sold me this for my RV.
Nice.
yeah, they were, and even at the Gainesville Tiny House show, we were asking the representatives there, and they're like, yes, you can take it on the go. It does not void the terms and conditions. Because that was my concern,
Well, I knew it
too.
worked,
Yeah.
but everything that I've seen has been that it's a stationary solution. But if that's changing, that's awesome.
Yeah, they've been starting to market directly to RVers and putting their money behind it in advertising
Nice.
for internet on the go. So this is their original cellular modem. It's got an eSIM in it. So when you go sign up, they will give you this and magically turn it on. But there's a new version of this that's coming out that takes external antennas. So you'll have some ports on it where you can actually run an antenna outside of your rig. Like we just said, big metal structures do not like Wi-Fi and cellular signals. So a big metal bus or a van or anything like that will degrade your signal. So having those external antennas can greatly improve your cellular connectivity. So yeah, this is like $50 a month, and so far, from what I've heard other people use it and played with it myself, it's definitely worth the $50.
Yeah. Yeah, the people I know who have it or have built a compatible type of setup definitely like it.
I've had my Starlink on pause since I bought it because it's worked everywhere.
You know where it doesn't work is where we had the North Carolina swarm the other year. It was only, in Murphy, it was only Starlink. Nobody else had anything.
Which is why I still have the
Yeah.
Starlink.
But we were also in a bowl.
Right.
We were surrounded
Yeah,
by
we were in a bowl in the mountains.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
it wasn't surprising
Right.
that was the only thing that worked.
Right.
But we were just glad that enough people had Starlink that pretty much everybody was able to get their work done.
Yeah. So another option in the realm of internet connectivity through cellular is getting modems like this with lots of antennas. This modem is specifically for Unlimitedville. So where that one's a T-Mobile one, Unlimitedville typically runs on AT&T or Verizon. This unit also is eSIMs, so it has a slot on the back that you can put a physical SIM card in. But if you're in an area where you realize like AT&T coverage isn't good enough, you could call them up and say, hey, can you switch it to Verizon? You reboot the unit and it changes networks. So that's one of the advantages of going through one of these data resellers. But the downside is you're usually paying a premium for that kind of service. So I think this one started at like $100 or $120 a month, which, now it's up to $145 a month. So although it gives you a little bit more flexibility with multiple service providers, you are paying for that convenience. This one does have antenna ports, so when I had this in my bus for testing, I would take off the original antennas and screw these into antennas that I mounted on the outside of my bus to again kind of mitigate the metal shell or Faraday cage, if you're scientific, that is blocking all of the wireless signal from getting into my bus with reasonable speeds.
Now, specifically about Unlimitedville, because I do have some friends who have used Unlimitedville. Despite the name and the verbiage on their website, your service is not actually unlimited, and there is a amount of data after which they will shut you off for the rest of the month.
Yeah, and most of them, aside from what I've heard about the T-Mobile unlimited home internet, it is just a marketing word, and usually if you use more than like 200 to 300 gigs a month, that's when you can start to get in trouble.
Well, from what I've heard and what I've seen myself, the cell phone based unlimited plan, you get not turned off, but you get deprioritized after a certain amount. And actually, if you go through, like I go through Metro, which is a T-Mobile service, and they're deprioritized all the time, and you get their service for a lower price because of that. but depending on where you are, that deprioritization may or may not mean anything. Like I tend to be just as fast as the person who's next to me who paid the additional money, and my SIM card would work just as well on the home internet devices.
And the T-Mobile home internet is like never slows down, never deprioritized. Like that's their main thing.
Well, and looking at the Unlimited Bill website, for their $100 a month plan, the soft limit is 400 gigs. And once you reach that soft limit, you will be getting slower speeds. So that's one thing to be mindful of for those a little bit more budget-friendly options. So you got to decide where you want to travel, what the carrier network map looks like, and who can get you connected for whatever your needs are. Again, if it's super critical for your employment and your income, it's better to have more options, in my opinion. You may even be able to get your employer to pay for one or two internet solutions, assuming they're okay with you being remote and traveling full time. And then we've got the largest physical thing on the table, which by this point most people are probably familiar with these giant white dishes. So this is the second gen Starlink router with built-in motor. They're now on to Gen 3, which is a non-motorized dish. So I personally like this one because since we're always traveling, you don't know exactly where you're going to be setting up. And when you power this on, it will calibrate itself and point in the direction it needs to for the best signal. The modern, or not the modern, but the new Gen 3 without a motor, it is up to you to position it in the right direction. The app supposedly helps you do that. I personally don't know, because I stick mine on top of my bus, I plug it in, and it does its thing. And usually within about 5 minutes, I'm up and running. Now, one of the trade-offs with this is data speed limits with the mobile version. Usually during peak congestion on the Starlink network, the RV or mobile version will be deprioritized, and your speeds can drop to anywhere between 1 and 5 megabytes. And sometimes that is a little unusable depending on what you're trying to do. So this one also comes in at a higher price tag. I think it's $120 a month still? No, $150 a month.
Yeah. Plus the cost of the equipment.
Yeah, it's like $700 with tax and shipping up front for the equipment, and then the mobile you're paying $150. If you have a residential one, it's $120. And then if you need priority data, you can buy it in 50 gig, 1 terabyte, or 5 terabyte for ridiculous amounts of money.
Yeah, that's
50 gigs of mobile priority is $250 a month. A terabyte is $500 a month, and a terabyte is $1,000 a month, and 5 terabytes is $5,000 a month. So it works great in those areas where there isn't cell coverage. So if you like to go out west where there's no tree cover and chill out on BLM land and want to stay connected and work, and there is no cell service, Starlink will keep you connected. There's places in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. In the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, where I've had 0 cell service with AT&T on my phone, but Starlink, I could plug in and stay connected and stay in a place longer and still be able to work and generate income. And if you are traveling globally more than just within your continent, it's $200 a month for the mobile version of this.
Another thing I'd point out about the Starlink is Starlink necessarily will have a higher latency on your data than other forms because it has a longer distance for the signal to travel up to a satellite and then back down to wherever the satellite's beaming it to before it actually hits what we think of as the wired internet. That can affect you if the things you're doing is a lot of more real-time, like video conferencing, live streaming. If you're one of the folks who use your internet mostly for online gaming and you're doing fast action-packed stuff where response time really matters, your Starlink will be a limiting factor in those situations where other types may not have the same peak throughput when the sky is clear and everything's great, but may have a lower latency there. So I know a lot of folks like to game in their buses, and Starlink has been kind of a blessing and a curse because they can game from anywhere, but they don't play as well.
Well, in the reality of anywhere is anywhere that you've got a clear view of the sky. So if you like to boondock in like national forests or in campgrounds or anything with tree coverage, that will degrade your signal because the Starlink constellation satellites are constantly moving around the globe in all sorts of patterns and ways, and your dish is looking to try to connect to a few of those at a time, and those trees can get in the way, which will cause dropouts or drop in speeds. So it's really intended for an area where you've got open coverage and limited obstructions, where most of us are solar powered, so we want to be in the sun anyways. But that's another thing to be mindful of with satellite internet is the trees can cause a headache, where the cellular service, as long as there's coverage, the tree or the canopy cover doesn't really matter for cellular.
Okay, Darren, you haven't talked much.
I know. You're hitting all the points. I mean,
I'm aware.
I've had Starlink for a long time, and I use that exclusively with the exception of my cell phone. And, I mean, yeah, you know, between typically like 6 p.m. and 11 p.m. or midnight on whatever time zone you're on, it does slow down because there's a lot of people on it. And my guess is a lot of folks are, you know, streaming video. It's that time of night. Everybody's home. Everybody's checking stuff out. So, you know, it's getting better, you know, like anything. But to your point, you know, sometimes there's spots that you can just about get service if you don't mind dropouts and things. But you'll notice it more with live streaming. You know, if you're streaming a movie or something, you know, there is some buffering, you know, that takes place in the background. So sometimes, most of the time it'll miss if it drops out for a couple seconds and then comes back in until it hits that satellite. But for the most part, you know, I've had areas where I've had some tree cover and I've had some obstructions, and you just wait a couple seconds. You know, it's not home internet, but as long as you're aware that, hey, it may drop out. And then the nice thing is you can go in and look at your coverage and see what your obstructions are. I don't know if anybody, just to kind of give everybody an idea here. So there's my Starlink that's running. There's my obstructions. Right now it says there aren't any. Typically what you'll see is you'll see red dots or red areas that tell you exactly, you know, where your obstruction is. So it gives you an idea where it's at. You might be able to move it a little bit. You know, move it 5 feet. You'd be amazed what 5 feet difference in a different direction on a satellite can make.
It's the same thing with cellular antennas as well. Like before I had my external mounted antenna, I had one that I could move around on the inside of the bus easily enough. And maybe this window I get 3 dB better than this window over here. And just a little bit of positioning can make a huge difference. But ultimately, having something that's on the outside of the bus is going to end up being better than something on the inside of the bus.
Yeah. And for context, depending on where you're watching from, our end of this live stream is being connected through Starlink. So gives you an idea if we're having buffering or issues like that. Some of that is due to just the distance and Wi-Fi from the router, but we are connected through Starlink right now for this live stream. Nope, that's no match.
I have something to add about Starlink. I have the flagpole buddy. Any of you guys have that?
I 3D print the adapters on my own.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, same concept, but it's great because I was concerned about leaving my Starlink on the ground, that it might walk away or I might run over it. And I don't want to climb on my roof like some people do every time to put it up. So the flagpole buddy is great because you can attach it standing on the ground, clip it in, and you don't have to climb on anything to put it up and take it down.
And I originally did it that way. And then I saw somebody do a video where they got magnets from Harbor Freight, like the 4-inch magnets, and bolt that to the stand. So I actually leave the stand of my Starlink magnetically attached to the roof of my bus now. And I still have my emergency hatches. So I pop open the emergency hatch, stand on my dinette and couch, and I can just reach through the opening and place my Starlink, which is really nice for like if I'm Boondockers Welcome, Harvest Host, or like Cracker Barrel type setup where it's fully contained where nobody can mess with it because it's on the center of my roof out of reach from anybody who may cause chaos.
That's very nice because nobody installed solar panels on top of your roof hatches so that you can't open them.
Oh, no.
Like the
Person that did.
incompetent imbeciles that I hired.
Yeah.
Not anybody here.
So that's
So does the weather impact the reception, the Starlink reception?
So I've seen it get choppy during like thunderstorms where there's like lightning activity. But like on a day like today where it's just raining,
Just overcast doesn't
yeah,
bother it
the
at all?
clouds don't really matter. Light rain doesn't matter. It's really if there's that electrical disturbance in the atmosphere. And usually it's not a full cutout. You'll just see like the latency change and your speed may drop temporarily and come right back. So it becomes slightly more unstable. But like Darren was saying, if you're streaming a movie or something, usually the buffer time, there's enough of that that you won't even notice on the end.
I have that sometimes in my home.
I mean, I've seen like potential torrential downpour. Yes, you know, it's. I used to work with the satellite TV companies, and it's the same thing. You know, you get something between you and the satellites of enough, you know, enough in between it. Yes, you're going to notice a degradation, but usually that clears up in like a couple minutes.
The biggest like inconvenience I've noticed with it is if you are trying to do Wi-Fi based calling in an area without cell coverage, and that's when like if there's a tree or something else, you're more likely to lose that phone connection because it's trying to do the constant back and forth through Wi-Fi calling.
Otherwise, Wi-Fi calling's been working great on it.
Yeah, if you have zero obstructions, then I've had no issues with Wi-Fi calling. One thing to be mindful of, if you haven't turned on Wi-Fi calling on your phone, a lot of times they want an emergency address entered in. So you would put like the address, your app, while you're using it, because if you for some reason needed to call 911, it won't know because it's beaming through the satellite to a different ground station, and that will mess up where the signal's coming from. What other internet solutions have you tried over the years?
Oh, I've been through a few, but most of them no longer exist. Like, one that I used way back in the day was an app called PDA Net that would run on your phone and turn your USB port into a virtual Ethernet device. So anything you plug it into, like now the phones have that functionality kind of built in, but the phone software also recognizes it and will tell on you if you're doing it. This was allowing you to do that without being told on. So they wouldn't be able to bill you extra for it or just tell you flat out you can't do it. But there are a lot of options out there if you just want to use your cell phone, especially if you are a little bit DIY minded and you do things like run third-party operating systems on your cell phone, or if you are into like OpenWRT routers. That can open up a lot of avenues for you as well. I use an OpenWRT-based router. I also have third-party operating system on my phone. So none of these things will tell on me for the evil that I'm doing by getting internet from my SIM card.
And if you want to go to like the more extreme nerdy side of things, instead of just taking one of these cellular modems, plugging it in and saying, great, you have Wi-Fi, like I installed 2 permanent access points in my bus with hard wires so that regardless of where you are inside of the bus, I have great connectivity. Those are a mesh network that connects to an external access point on my bus as well. So as I'm coming in and out of the big metal Faraday cage that is a bus, my phone will automatically shift from whichever access point is giving the best signal. But that is a little bit above and beyond and not necessary. But it's fun to play with.
Yeah, I've got a Wi-Fi antenna on my roof next to my cellular antennas, but just a single access point.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. That way I have coverage pretty much most of where we are here.
Yeah, yeah. Like at Swarm, I could walk around for most of the lower area and still have coverage on my phone, even though my SIM card was in the bus.
Yeah. So, is there any questions on the lot?
There are no questions yet. If anybody on TikTok has questions about internet and Wi-Fi on the road, go ahead and throw it in.
While we're waiting on that,
Yeah, anybody?
I was trying to hear, so.
Other questions or ideas, things people have tried? I used to do an AT&T mobile hotspot, but those were capped at 100 gigs a month,
Yeah.
and so I no longer do that.
I had the wireless home phone internet, which was unlimited, but they discontinued the whole program.
Well, and I know a lot of people used to do, what was it, Mint Mobile with like 5 of your friends for $10 a month.
Right.
I don't, didn't they shut down, or are they still a
No,
thing?
Mint Mobile
They got
still
bought.
on.
They're still there. Yeah, in name at least, they're still there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was another one where you'd get a SIM card, you'd pop it in, and you'd have internet through another cellular company, kind of beating around the intended purpose. And whenever you're trying to go around the intended purpose, eventually, usually they'll catch on and discontinue your service, and then you got to try something new again.
Well, that's what happened with that, and I won't mention the name of that other major company that had that lawsuit.
Yes.
Hell yeah says, is Crystal here?
Crystal is not up in the kitchen now.
She is somewhere. She's around, but she's not here.
Yes.
I was gonna chime in something on that last one, but I don't recall. Oh, you'll find all of the major carriers have their little sub-carriers, their little less expensive brands. Like T-Mobile has Metro, AT&T. There's like 10 of them for AT&T. Sprint. Did they even have Boost Mobile and Sprint anymore?
I
After they got.
think you can go to
It's still out there.
Yeah, I think you can go to Walmart and get Boost.
Yeah, I think you can still get Boost, but I don't know if you can get Sprint
Yeah, that I
directly
don't know.
No,
anymore.
Sprint's gone.
But generally speaking, you're able to get the same service, like you get all the same coverage with their lower tier products, but it's usually a deprioritization thing where your speeds might be a little slower if you're somewhere congested. But they also seem to be more lenient on things like data caps. Like when I got my Metro PCS SIM, I could go a lot farther before things would slow down than if I were paying more for the actual T-Mobile product. There's also, Hillary uses Visible, which is on Verizon's network, and it's very cheap. Hers is $25 a month unlimited, and her SIM card will also work in our router, so we're able to use it for internet if we happen to have better Verizon service than we have T-Mobile, which lately honestly hasn't been happening. T-Mobile's really been doing good for us lately. But same deal, if you pay for the Verizon service, you get fewer features. Like you have to pay extra if you want Wi-Fi calling, or it's only available on certain devices for Wi-Fi calling, whereas with Visible you get it on everything. But there's a lot of ways to save money if you're going the cell phone based internet route.
Other questions folks have?
I have my cell phone plan is Google,
Okay.
and I just use a Wi-Fi booster, and so far it's worked really well.
You have which now? I'm sorry.
Google?
Okay, you got 5.
And are you using like a Wii Boost or something else?
Yep.
Yep. I haven't looked at their plans recently, but I had that for several years, and when they went to a, was it like $60 a month to get unlimited data, but below that it was like $10 for 10 gigs or something until you got up to that. What's their pricing look like today?
I'm still on the $10 per gig. big plan,
Okay.
and it's maxed at 60.
Yeah.
So, but I haven't noticed them actually throttle it. So I'm not full time. So when I
Yeah.
am on the road and I do hit the max, I'm never paying more than the $60.
Right.
And so for me, it's worked out really well. If I was full time and I was like well past my limit and that throttle was hitting my output as well, so far it's worked really well. And what I really like about it is before this, when we were in a different rig, we were relying on Google Sprint. And like with Google, I just turn the hotspot on or I just turn it
Right.
off. It's not like an extra
Yeah,
service.
not an extra feature.
Yeah, and so with the other plan, it was like you had to pay extra to also have hotspot. It was sort of like you got nickel and dimed with like each additional feature you would want. What I like about Google is I went to Germany, my phone just worked. I came home, my phone just worked. I get in the bus, my phone just works. Like I don't have to add extra anything. I don't know if that plan's still available or not, because I've had it for like
I
2
think it
years
is.
now.
Yeah, I think that's still what they're doing. Like as much data as you want, and your price eventually stops at 60. Like you won't pay more than 60, but you might pay less if you use less data.
Yep. Which when I'm at home, you know.
Right. When you're on Wi-Fi, you
paid
don't use anything.
It's an incredible cell phone
Right.
bill when I'm at home.
Yeah, when we were in an apartment and like we were going from the apartment to the workplace where we had Wi-Fi in both places.
Yeah.
Like it was literally just the drive.
Yeah.
Was the only
It was
time
like
you'd use cellular
$25
data.
a month phone
Right, it
bill.
was super cheap. But one thing you have to get used to if you're using cell phone-based internet is when you get to your bus, like you've been out and about, you get to your bus, and now you have to take whatever you were carrying with you and pop a SIM card out, put it into a router, or plug your phone in, or whatever. So you don't have like internet in the bus when you're not there, actively not using your phone. Right. So like we have a bunch of smart devices in the bus. Like if my SIM card's in the bus, Hillary can control the air conditioner. She can monitor our power system, etc. from her phone. Or if mine's in the bus, then I can do it from my phone or from Wi-Fi or whatever. But having like the basically permanent internet access available inside the bus ends up being a pretty huge convenience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I have a dumb bus.
We have a reasonably smart bus.
Yeah. I have a dumb home, I have a dumb bus.
Yeah, we've
My
got
Jeep
remote
has
controls
crank
for
windows.
everything.
It's old.
Yeah.
Well, and Darren's looking up the plans right now for the Google Fi current options, and it looked like their unlimited plus is $65 a month for one user, but that's unlimited hotspot, data in 200 destinations, calling from over 50 destinations, shareable data with a tablet. You get YouTube Premium, and you get 100 gigs of storage on Google OneDrive.
But for 50, you get unlimited data. What's the difference on that 50 plan?
5 spots of tethering, 5 gigs of
Oh,
tethering.
5 gig of hotspot.
And
yeah.
only data in Canada, Mexico, and the US versus international.
Yeah. So you're getting a better deal than somebody would sign
Yeah,
up today.
they keep asking me if I want to change, and I keep saying no.
Right. Yeah, I'm good.
Other questions folks have?
The chat on TikTok has devolved.
I'm not surprised.
Yep.
So yeah, folks don't have any other questions. That's kind of the basics of internet. You got cellular, you got satellite, you got your individual phones, and you just have to play the game of what works best for you and your needs. So as soon as T-Mobile comes out with their new modems everywhere with the external antennas, that's going to be my next purchase.
I think you can get those in store today.
Okay, I'll have to check. Because my Starlink is paused right now. And if I can keep it paused and just add the T-Mobile, I probably will.
It's worth a
Bless
phone
you.
call.
True.
There might be a store in town.
Ta-da!
Hooray. We've done it.
And the crowd goes wild.
The crowd is good.
So how bad is